Ripley. Hello, Alan.
Hello, Nick. I'm the guy that spoke to you a short while ago from Ripley, truck driver. Used to have my own trucks for over 35 years, about that ULEZ thing. Shortly after I spoke to you, a builder was taken to court by them for non-payment. He won. I don't know if you remember this, but he won.
No,
everything was expunged.
Under what circumstances did he win?
I can't just remember at the moment in time, because I've only just heard you coming on the road about all this, and so I just can't remember at the moment, but he did win. He had about an £11,500 worth of fines had built up. They were in the court, and he put his point across to them.
Right. But if we don't know what the point was, then there's little point in actually dwelling on it.
I'm not dwelling on it. I'm just pointing out that he did win. Now,
but we don't know why, though. So it's
It's because ULEZ is illegal.
No, but it isn't illegal. I mean, it might have been that it isn't. There's a lawyer who makes his living from finding loopholes. Now, that doesn't mean to say that driving at 70 in a 30 zone is not illegal. It's just that he can find a loophole that the sign wasn't the correct height, or it wasn't the correct amount of distance from I've got no idea. That's how he makes his living. But it doesn't mean to say that what the person did was not wrong. It just means that he's found a way around the rules.
I've seen this bloke on TV and one thing or other, and I can come up with as much as he can loophole-wise and one thing or other, and I have done.
Right, but it's loopholes, exactly.
No, this is the point at the moment in time. The point I want to say to you about the Welsh Government are a standalone council, they're a standalone government, right? Because they are a standalone government, if somebody who lives in England and who has got a registered address in England gets nicked in Wales, and this is fact, you can check it up, their points that they get in Wales will not go on their licence in England.
I don't believe you.
How much do you want to bet on it?
Well, I'm not a betting person, but again, hang on a minute, Alan. Again, you're talking about loopholes. You're finding a way around the rules that everybody else has to obey.
No, it's not a loophole.
It is.
It is not.
Well, okay, all right, but what's the point in saying that?
Because they're turning around and saying, what I'm putting out is to I totally agree, some speed limits do need to be fetched down around schools and one thing or another like that.
Right.
But what I'm simply pointing out, it's not a loophole. What I'm simply pointing out, if there's anybody in England who gets nicked in Wales for speeding on this, the points don't go on the licence.
Okay, well, I wouldn't rely on that. And again, I don't really see the point of saying that. I mean, unless you're saying that because there is no punishment, then you can do whatever you want, which is, I mean, if that is your position, Alan, then I've got nothing else to say. Sidcup. Hello, Phil.
Oh, hello.
Phil.
Hi, Nick.
Yes, Phil.
Why is unemployment in the UK 4.5%, but it's 11.7% in Spain, 11.1% in Greece, if the EU is so good?
Spain's unemployment rate is 11%.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. Spain was the European country with the highest unemployment rate in June 2023 with 11.7% for the labour force out of work. The unemployment rate in Greece in second place, so 11.1%.
Right.
And in the UK, it's 4.3%. So if the European Union is that benevolent and that great, why is unemployment so high?
I don't know why the level of unemployment in Spain is so high, but what's it like in Germany?
I don't know, but I'm asking you, what is it like in Spain and Greece?
Yeah, but we don't compare ourselves to Spain and Greece. We are a richer country than they are. We compare ourselves to France.
I've asked you a question.
Yeah, and I told you I don't know the answer. I'm not very familiar with the Spanish economy. You don't expect me to be, surely. But we don't compare ourselves to Spain and Greece. That's practically third world stuff. We compare ourselves to France. You're not listening to me, are you, Phil? France and Germany is what we compare ourselves to.
Oh, of course, yeah. We shouldn't be concerned about Spain and Greece unemployment. We should be concerned about Germany.
No, I'm not saying we should be concerned about it. I said we compare ourselves. We are not like Spain or Greece. We are a richer country than that. So we should compare ourselves to countries that are similar to us. Do you not agree?
We should be saying, why is there massive unemployment in those countries?
Right. Well, Germany's unemployment. Germany's unemployment rate is 2.9%.
Yeah, but we're not concerned. I'm asking a question about those two.
Are you asking me the same question that I've already answered?
I've asked you a question.
Yes, and I have answered it. No, I can't. I do not know anything about the Spanish economy. Do you expect me to do so?
But you're saying that we are so much better. Or they're so much better than us, and yet our unemployment rate is 4.3%.
No, I didn't say they were better than us. I said that it would be beneficial and was beneficial for us to be a part of the European...
It's not for Spanish people and for Greek people, obviously, because theirs is 3 times...
Phil, that's an asinine thing to say, if you don't mind me saying it bluntly, because you are not comparing what Spain or Greece would be like outside the European Union.
I'm talking about inside the European Union, which is it's 11% and 11.1% inside the European Union.
Yeah.
And we are outside the European Union, and we're 4.3%.
Phil, if we have fallen so low that we are now comparing ourselves to Greece, then that is embarrassing in and of itself. I mean, no offence to the Greek people, but we are supposed to be a much richer and better off country than they are.
No, you're missing the point. Missing the point. What I'm saying is, if the EU is so benevolent in its way, its distribution, why are 11.7% of the population of Spain out of work?
Yeah, you keep asking me the same question over and over again, and I don't know anything about the Spanish economy. But a country that we should be comparing ourselves is to not Spain or Greece, it would be Germany. And Germany's unemployment rate is 2.9%, which is less than ours.
We've got 4.3% out of work from outside.
Right, and we have Germany has 2.9%. Phil, what about that? Don't you understand?
They are inside the European Union. They've got 11% out of work. It's nuts. It's nuts.
You're not actually hearing anything at all, are you? You phoned in with what you thought was a gotcha, which was a completely specious comparison between us and Greece and Spain, and no amount of argument that comes back at you is even touching your ears. You've got the deflector shield up because you thought you'd just drop that bomb in there and win an argument by running away, or just repeating the same question again and again and again, which is so total lever, I can't even describe it in words. You've learnt zero in the entire time that we've been having this discussion, which seems to have been going on for an epoch now. Nothing at all. Greece. We're doing better than Greece. Well, whoop-de-doo. Let's see now. Harrow, Jonathan.
Yeah, hello, Nick. Hi.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a new boy on the phone today? Because the usual one that I speak to, this one asks me a lot of questions.
Oh, yeah.
Not to complain.
Like what?
No, I'm not complaining, but I thought the voice sounded different for the usual boy. I did.
The usual boy, yeah, right.
Look, this country now, we are at the edge of bankruptcy.
Yeah.
I'm financially teetering. I'll give you a quick example. There is no tradesman in this country, and I had 2 bulbs and 1 light fitting that was rotting. And one of the electrical companies, they said it would be £285 plus VAT.
What?
And so, of course, I rejected this offer, and I got a very surly one who came yesterday at 8 in the morning, so I had to wake up at 7 a.m.
Why?
Now,
Why?
Because he said that's the only time he could do.
No, but why did you have to get up an hour before he got there? What, to make yourself look good?
No, because I have the bathroom, the bowel movement in the morning.
Happy morning sit down. It's the best way to start the day. Yeah.
I can't help it. And then, no, it's true. And then I'm not a troublesome person, but I was an English guy. I'm not a racist, but I then said to him, if you would do some cleaning for me, and he got very angry. I'm being serious.
You said to an electrician, can you do some cleaning for me?
No, because he was charging a lot anyway, obviously cash in hand, because it's all dodgy. And I said, and then he said to me, do I look like a cleaner and all of this? So he left and I went for a walk. And, I'm being serious now. In this country now, it's such poverty. I told you, I voted for the Baris twice.
Yeah.
And this is in India on the holiday again. And I was walking around, and in the morning who the main peoples are now?
Who?
It was just the drug addicts.
Just you and the drug addicts.
Want to score some pot?
Right.
And I'm in such financial ruin, I have to think of selling my car. And it's BMW. And I was at the petrol station, and there was a woman who said hello to me. And I'm sorry to say this, but I only realized midway through she was a drug addict, and she was doing a solid movement on the petrol forecourt.
Oh, that's just way too much information, Jonathan.
Can I quickly tell you something about the Tony Blair? Please.
Okay, then. As long as it's got nothing to do with motions on the garage forecourt. Go on.
Because I like you, Nick. No offence to you.
Yes, but
neither of us are spring chickens.
Right.
And I'm obese. You say you go to the gym.
Well, I don't really. They keep emailing me all the time. Hey, we miss you. Come back to the gym. Have you thought about exercising your wobbly person? Try walking over here for a bit. Words to that effect. Rude.
Yeah, because I'm bald and I'm obese.
Yeah. And
I went to the first time to a boxing gym in 20 years. Mm-hmm. And this is not the Tony Blair point, by the way. An angry Sri Lankan, I'm not a racist, but immediately he took a dislike to me, and we did some exercise, and he put me on my ass. He knocked me down.
Right.
And then I came back, and I'm already feeling low. He had a very bad attitude, and, sort of walkie-talkie, all of this person.
Walkie-talkie?
And this is really killing this country. And I came and I started watching the TV.
You were wait a minute. You were washing the television.
Yeah, and there was a documentary, I was saying, and it was under Tony Blair. And under him, everything was perfect.
Is that true?
No, because he came in the power in 97 when I was doing better financially, because I'm teetering on bankruptcy. Yeah. And there was him and Don Prescott, who is fat, and he's quite common. No, but now listen to me. It was the country was perfect under them. Yes. It was everything operated, and forget about the Iraq and the alleged war crimes.
That is very true. Yeah,
everything, and now all they have left from the Tony Blair wing, and I know you like him because you talk about him positively, but the Sadiq Khan. Hello?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, because you Wokies, on the one hand you like Sadiqi, but on the other hand you like Jeremy Corbyn. So if they stand against each other, who will you vote for?
I would hope that they don't stand against each other, because that's the left's trick of splitting the vote so that the Tories would win.
Because there used to be a vegetable shop in Tooting where they had a religious festival, and I saw him give a speech in 2006.
In a vegetable shop?
No, above a vegetable shop. It is a small temple. And he's got grey hairs and he's very angry. He's an angry little man. It's true. And I know the Wokies, that's true. And I know the Wokies like him because he says all of the right things.
Yeah.
But listen, we need a change in this country because I have got no cleaners now. The BMWs on the garage. And can I just end by saying I'm on the brink of bankruptcy like this country, and Rishi Sunak is again on a big holiday. Yeah. So my bank account, I would never say this, but it's number 538103. Right. It's a Metro bank account.
What's your PIN number?
I'll tell you the account number. Seriously, if your listeners can...
Exactly what they'll do. They'll be on their mobile phones straight away, seeing if they can give you some money straight into your bank account. Okay, good work, Jonathan. Did you bleep that?
Oops, sorry.
Did you dump that?
I dumped his number.
Yeah, he dumped his the account number. So unfortunately, the boy through the glass has just made it possible that he will teeter financially. He's on the edge in more ways than one. East Ham, Aziz.
How you doing? You good?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah, just a quick point. We work with a couple of refugee charities, and the stories that you hear are that as soon as they leave France, the French police are actually, or the French Coast Guard, actually giving them directions towards England. So what will happen is
you can see England from France.
Yeah, but actually safe routes to avoid that. Then the Coast Guard take over. So if that crossing is being facilitated, how are you going to stop it? There's no deterrent, is there? So as soon as you get into a boat, the French police will wave you off. They'll tell you the best route to get there.
Yeah.
So the boat riders are coming in. The money that these people pay is paid in the UK. So the boat smugglers are getting paid into British bank accounts.
Are they?
So, yeah, in the most part, the smugglers have accounts in the UK. So what will happen is...
How do you know that?
Speaking to refugees. Actually, directly speaking to people who've made that crossing over. It's not GB News or first hand. This is first hand experience.
Well,
I
should have asked you right at the beginning. You said that we. Who's the we? What organisation are you talking about?
We work for a local I don't want to mention it because obviously I don't want my employees to find out.
But what kind of an organisation is it? You don't have to mention the name.
What we do is we find volunteer work for refugees that come into the UK. So obviously, if you're stuck in a hotel for the best part of 22 hours, it becomes mind-numbing. So we find them sort of local projects that they can volunteer with, a bit of gardening, a bit of DIY, a bit of maintenance, because a lot of these people are quite skilled in what they can do.
Well, yes.
So they're lovely people. They're some of the nicest people that you'll meet. However, the issue that comes back is, as someone sitting there, if the system is facilitating that, and then the other thing that you see, generally you see, if you're coming from other third world parts of the country, like India, places like that, it's very easy to get a visa and bring your family over. So immigration, unfortunately, as an immigrant myself, I hate saying this because the opportunities that the UK have offered me as somebody that comes from an immigrant family, I wouldn't want anyone to not get that experience. But I can see it on the other hand where it is out of control and being manipulated.
But can you put yourself into the position of the French, though? I mean, if you were a French citizen on the North Shore, then you might think, well, we already take twice as many applicants, asylum applicants, as Britain.
I've asked that question.
Why should we police their borders for them?
But can I tell you what the French do? And I've asked this question as well. What they do, they'll pay €450 to everyone that claims asylum. So there's no accommodation, there's nothing else. You just turn up once a month. At the end of each month, you get €450, and that's how you're supposed to survive.
Well, and you can work, though. You can work, though, crucially.
Well, whatever your means are, whatever the ruling is, whatever. However, in England, we're providing hotel accommodation at £180 to £300 a day.
Well,
you can imagine
it isn't that much. It's not that much. Well, we're talking about 50 quid a day, something like that. But
okay,
let's not start picking over whether it's a 3 or a 4-star hotel. It doesn't really make any difference.
Okay, all right. Let's use £50 as a benchmark. Yeah, that's 4 times as much as France pays for its refugees.
Yeah, but the reason that they're in those hotels is because we insist on them being in this interminable queue before their decision is made. And once they are allowed residence status, then they can work. The only reason that they're costing us that money is because the system is so slow.
Look, I don't have an opinion on it either way in terms of the refugee crisis. However, I'm just explaining to you what the facts are as they stand. The fact is, France facilitates the crossing. Britain then obviously does the right thing and makes sure that those boats are there.
Right, okay.
So how can you stop that process?
Right. Okay. Thanks, Aziz. I just don't get that France should be patrolling our borders. I thought the whole reason that we left the European Union was that we wanted to take our borders back. And now we're outsourcing that service to the French. What's it got to do with them? If somebody wants to leave France, why would they stop them? Particularly as I mentioned, France takes twice as many asylum seekers as we do. Why should they take more? Why should they take the ones that want to come here as well as the ones that want to stay in France? I don't get it. Archway, James.
Hello, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Nice to speak to you. Now, this is advice on insects. Now, if an insect bites you, all you've got to do is use antiseptic cream.
Antiseptic cream.
Cream, that's right. Now, the other thing is, if you get a bite from an insect, and there's a gap, we say, in the arm, and you might get 3 lumps in the arm, there are blisters, then if that happens, you will have to go on antibiotics and a cream.
Well, let me ask you this, James. What do you know about it?
Well, that's exactly what happened where I was concerned.
You had 3 lumps on your arm, and you had to go on antibiotics and cream.
Yes,
right.
Because once it spreads, then they've got to deal with it.
Right.
Because it can go up to your forehead, it can go any other place, it has to be dealt with. But if it doesn't spread, that's a different matter. That would be an ordinary insect bite. But, you have got to put up with those little things.
Well, you sound like an expert, James, and I appreciate the input. Thanks a lot, mate. Does anyone have any idea what that was about?
No.
Something about lumps. Maidenhead. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Nick.
Paul.
What do you want to talk about?
You got to the end of this to pick a subject.
Well,
I'm not sure that well is a subject.
No.
Second chance.
NHS.
You want to talk about the NHS?
Yeah.
Go on then. Dogs.
Yeah.
Now you're just throwing random words at me.
Okay. Dogs are good. I love them. I train them.
Right. Dogs are good.
Right.
Ebenezer good.
Ebenezer is a brilliant tune.
Yeah. Bang in.
But,
yes?
Yeah. But the NHS, I haven't got my prescription for 2 weeks.
Okay, well, watch for it at your door. It'll be popping through your letterbox any moment now. Thanks a lot, Paul. Thanks for bringing that to my attention, like it has anything to do with me. He hasn't got his prescription for 2 weeks. What's it got to do with me? Lewisham. Hello, Saul.
Hello. How are you doing, Nick?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up on this, on the sexually motivated, murder aspect of this whole thing. Because you said earlier, I don't really see what the difference is. But I do think there is a lot to unpack with regard to that, because a sexually motivated murder is actually, you can quite clearly tell what the motivation of it was. A lot of the time with murders, you get to the end of the whole process, go through courts, the whole case is publicised massively, and you don't know why they did it. You can't really unpack, but with a sexually motivated murder, that person said, well, I'll reduce your life to a momentary pleasure for myself, and I'll kill you, and then you got to look at, well, are we punishing the person, or are we protecting the people from these kinds of blokes, So, whether or not, they're going to go to jail, and it won't be that bad, and obviously they won't be killed. It's a matter of really protecting the public from these people that have sort of gotten these steps of logic where it goes, you jump from, I want to get me rocks off, to, you've killed someone.
But what about, a lot of murders happen, I'm sure, for monetary reasons, jealousy, greed, revenge, all of these things. Is that actually...
Yeah, but money's harder to get than sex, depending on who you are. You can go and get sex in a lot of places, and the necessity of it, you can reduce it down when you compare it to money, which is, food, housing, and all of that good stuff,
Right. Okay. All right. Thanks, Saul. HS2 will never, ever, ever, ever reach central London under proposals to scale back the project drawn up by Downing Street and the Treasury.
What?
It's supposed to be the rail line that connects the Midlands and the North to London, and then onwards to the EU. And it's not only not joining together the major cities outside London, it's not even going all the way to London itself.
Oh, fabulous.
I can't believe it. This is a report from the Super Soaraway Times. The Times understands that as well as scrapping the northern part of HS2, that's going to link Birmingham with Manchester, wherever that is, the Prime Minister is also looking at ending the line before it gets to Euston. It's going to go from nowhere to nowhere. Only in this country could we fashion this kind of disaster for this kind of money. I am stunned. So not only is it not going to link Birmingham and Manchester, but it's also not going to link Birmingham or Manchester with London. It's not going to go to Euston. That was the plan initially, which is itself the wrong station for any line to end at. I travelled from Euston just the other day, and I can say without a shadow of a doubt, it's the worst railway station I've ever been in. The worst by a country mile. I mean, it would be embarrassing for a business person from the EU to come here and have to schlep all the way over to Euston. I mean, imagine if they actually made the mistake of staying in a hotel near Euston.
Disgusting.
Oh, they'd never come here again. They'd say, right, that's it, I'm leaving, in French. Which would probably sound like, they're inviting you over for drinks, whispering sweet nothing in your ear. They go. God, it was actually like a French person just walked into the room there, wasn't it?
No.
So it's going to go to Euston, which is the wrong station, because Euston does not connect with the rest of Europe. Because a business person, if they came down from Birmingham or Manchester, if they managed to find out some way of getting on a train that doesn't either go from the centre of Birmingham or Manchester down to London, and they arrived at Euston, which was the original plan, they'd have to get out of this hellhole that is the Euston railway station and then drag their wheelie case all the way down the most choked and polluted road in London to King's Cross, where they can then get on a train that will get them to Europe, where a market of 450 million people are situated. I mean, honestly, can we do anything right in this country that is not associated with a royal funeral?
No.
So instead of terminating at London Euston, which is the wrong station anyway, trains are now going to stop at Old Oak Common. Where's that? It's 6 miles away. Fishy says that the move will save at least £4.8 billion, and the government estimates that is the cost that it would take to upgrade Euston, to take the additional HS2 trains and link it to the line which is being built, HS2. 4.8 billion. I mean, you'd imagine that somebody would have thought of this before they spent over half the entire budget of the NHS on one railway line. Fishy Sunak seriously needs to maintain a grip on it.
I'm gripping it.
He is actually gripping it already. This is what it looks like when he's on top of things. Ending HS2 at Old Oak Common, wherever that is, would mean that passengers would have to get out there and then board another train on the Elizabeth line that will take them into central London, and then they'll have to switch trains again to get to Europe. I mean, it's like we've got a clown in charge of the infrastructure in this country. A drunk clown.
Booze.
I mean, they'd also have to learn the name of a place they'd never heard of before, Old Oak Common. I mean, can you imagine in France a line constructed to join Paris and Calais, say, that doesn't actually go to Paris? I mean, it's inconceivable. You get off the train at Pontieux and think, where the hell am I? French people are nuts. Well, it's not happening in France. It is, of course, happening here. What is now possibly the world's most expensive railway ever built goes from Birmingham to Old Oak Common. And Old Oak Common is apparently a semi-industrial area between Harlesden and Acton. Doesn't that sound nice?
No.
Good grief. And I had to look that up, because I'd never heard of it before. And I've been living in London for 45 years. Old Oak Common, completely new to me, as it will be to any business person from either the EU or Birmingham. I mean, the other thing, of course, is that the line doesn't actually start in the centre of Birmingham, where a business person might expect to join it, but some way out of the centre. And it was supposed to join Manchester, but that's out too. And yet the government seems to be able to spend £100 billion on a train to nowhere from nowhere. I'm not making that up. And that's not the final bill. That's just what it's cost us at the moment. £100 billion. And when the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, was asked politely if the line was ever going to be finished, he waved the question away with an imperious air and announced that he wasn't going to be drawn on details. Details? Where a £100 billion railway line ends is a mere detail. But, of course, it's all perfectly normal in a well-run country. I mean, you really couldn't make this stuff up. A confederacy of dunces is what we've got running the show here. I'm amazed that this country still exists. Southwark, hello, Daniel.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Okay, so first of all, batteries, this whole electrical thing, it's not efficient, it's not eco-friendly. Digging for the batteries causes massive problems to the earth, and also, the labour, it's just like slave labour.
Yeah.
Which all of these companies, are blatantly doing, and we treat them like celebrities. Mm-hmm. Secondly, all of this electric stuff is going to be digitalised, and it will be controlled by AI, so it means that they can shut us down whenever they want.
I'm sure they want that ability, yes.
Yeah, well, of course, and we're giving it to them freely. Third, we can use methane to power things, so, that would mean converting all of the cows' waste and our waste into energy.
Right. How would that work?
I'm not 100% sure, but basically they convert the methane and it turns into energy, and it can be used to power cars and other things.
Right. Can you imagine the smell?
Well, do you know what? I think basically, they can put things in there to change the odour.
Right.
But I expected a better comeback than that trip. Nick, come on, mate.
I'm very ill.
Secondly, your methane could be used to power the whole earth, because basically, no, I'm joking. The next thing is, no one's talking about the Bible. We're supposed to be a Christian country, yeah?
The Bible?
Yeah, because basically the Bible talks about what's happening now, all of this climate change, the earthquakes, all of these things. And I'm just saying, no one is talking about it, even people that claim to be Christian.
But what does the Bible say about climate change?
Well, the Bible says, that we should watch out for cows because, no, I'm joking. The Bible basically says that at the end we're going to go for a period of time where we have wars, rumours of wars, we have climate change, we have earthquakes. It goes through all of this, and it calls it birthing pains, It's the time before the end. And
to end on a happy note, the time before the end. That's what we're looking at. Well, that's alarming. Thanks for that, Daniel. Did not know that. Bromley, hello, Joe.
Hello, mate. Nick, always a nice occasion, but listen, at the end of the day, crime is crime. We can't have anything else than that. People go to jail because they've done wrong, but the people that have been done wrong too do not get the specificity of the fact that they've been harmed, right? You get your house burgled, what can you do? Ring the police and say, I'm sorry, what's happened here? What do they say? They're not interested.
Right. What point are you making, though, Joe?
The point I'm trying to make is crime is crime. There's no level of crime. There is no level of crime. Whether you get mugged for your phone, once upon a time we used to get mugged, didn't we? If you had money in your wallet, they'd mug you on the street and take your wallet. Now they mug you when you're asleep at night and take the money out of your bank account. Right? Crime is crime.
Right. Okay. Well. There's no doubt that crime is crime. At least we can agree on that. Weymouth. Hello, Barry.
Hello.
Barry.
I'm Barry. I live in... Actually, I've got a dog. Oh, God.
No kidding.
No, well, you've heard her. Can you hear me, yeah?
No.
I've taken you off speakerphone.
Oh, yes.
All right. She's a lovely dog. But anyway, that weren't the point. I used to work for Royal Mail.
There's a point. Go ahead.
Go on, sorry. I love your show, by the way.
Appreciate it.
No, I seriously do. I listen to you every
I appreciate
time
it.
you're on.
Every time I'm on.
Well,
You've got
you
no
only do
idea.
weekends.
Yes.
But I used to work for Royal Mail in Euston.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
31
Threaten
years. That's why I'm down in Portland now.
Yeah.
Right? I've got all me dosh off them. But this government, that's not the point.
There's a point?
There is a bloody big point.
Yes.
They knocked down one of the greatest little pubs. As you come out of Euston, Euston Station,
mm-hmm.
There was a lovely little pub. And I don't know if they've been, get their compensation. And not only that, houses along there were knocked down because they were on the wrong side.
You know, I should have got rid of him right at the beginning, and then I could have saved at least 3 or 4 minutes. I should always trust my instinct, my gut feeling. Let's have a call in Woking. Hello, Jeff.
Morning, Nick.
Jeff.
I hope you are feeling better, seriously.
Thanks.
You've had 2 or 3 weeks of feeling a bit dodgy.
Yes, that's right. But I don't like to mention it.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
All right, that's enough of that. Anyway, Nick, as you say, for the last few years, the Tories have been saying, under just about any circumstances, what would Trump do?
Yes.
What would Trump... Now, I think from now on, it's going to be, what would Liz Truss do? That seems to be the drift of things. Otherwise, things are going along. Anyway, just quickly...
just when you thought it couldn't possibly get any worse, it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The thing is, Nick, I had my car MOT yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, I know nothing about cars whatsoever, but my regular mechanic, he really is very good and he knows about cars.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying about this 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, which is creeping in all over the place.
Right.
Where it used to be 30, now it's 20. Now, he was saying that, I can't even say it, catalytic converter?
Catalytic converter, yeah.
Yeah. Well, apparently, every car's got one of those or something similar, and the job they do, it filters the bad fumes or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, apparently, these things don't kick in until the car is doing the optimum mileage speed.
Yes, that's not true.
Because he maintained that if you're doing 20 mile an hour or less, the converters don't function properly.
I believe that your car mechanic knows as much about cars as you could write on the back of a key fob.
Oh, well, I stand corrected then.
You stand what?
I stand corrected.
Oh, corrected. I thought you said someone else.
Disgusting.
No. Oh, he got it wrong then, but that's what he told me anyway.
I'm only suggesting that he got it wrong because I'm looking at a piece of information on the World Wide Web which says as follows. If you exceed 3,000 RPM, the catalytic converter can stop working properly. If this happens, the emission of substances hazard to health and the environment increases. So drive in the following way to not exceed 3,000 RPM, upshift early, skip gears, drive in the highest possible gear, do not accelerate at more than half throttle. So it's the opposite of what you were told, according to this piece of information that I'm looking at on the internet as I speak.
All right. Well, I just quickly, I was doing, a few years ago, I was almost out of fuel, and I was on the motorway doing about 35 mile an hour, and the police stopped me.
Yes.
And they said that you're dangerous, you could cause an accident at that speed.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm almost out of petrol, I don't want to run out. And he said to me, your car will perform better if you're doing a bit faster, going a bit far, 45, 50 mile an hour, whatever it was, you know?
You mean you'll get more miles per gallon?
Yeah. It was
possibly, yeah.
Performance. Anyway, Nick,
put it into top gear.
Have a great weekend and take care of yourself.
Okay, appreciate it, Jeff. Thanks a lot. I don't know. Did that sound like a threat? Are you threatening me? North Carolina. Graham.
You know, I never know where to start with you, Nick, but today you're cracking on your prime minister.
Yeah.
You never crack on Biden, and I think one time you said because he's so boring. Yeah. You know, but he's at 39%. So I wonder if you've ever contemplated a list of the worst leaders in the world. Is there a good leader anywhere? You know, I mean, no, too late.
I mean, some leaders are doing better than others. Let's put it like that.
Some chieftain on some island with indigenous people, maybe.
Yeah.
But none of the first worlders, I'll tell you. The other thing, immigration. Now, you were talking the other day about 7,000. I think last week you had 7,000 boat people and people crashing the gates over there. We got 7 million. 7 million. Okay, I know it's a big place.
Yeah.
It's a big place.
Mm-hmm.
But that builder's language is upset that the governor of Texas is sending gate crashers to New York, and now New York is begging Biden for money. You know, it's a dog chasing its tail. I think it's crazy.
It's going to get much worse, Graham. As soon as the consequences of climate change kick in, there's going to be hundreds of millions of people on the move.
Well, they're all going to move to Maine. Maine's a very cheap place to buy a home, and my brother is buying a property there because it's colder. But, you know, I don't know if that's going to help much. Did I hear just a minute ago that there's going to be 50 Celsius in England?
50?
50? Was that right?
No. I think
that can't be. No.
I think maybe you have waxy buildup. I'm going to send you some Q-tips in the post.
But, now, with regard to Brighton, I've been to Brighton and I've been to the whole seacoast on the English coast.
Yeah.
Why not the Hebrides? Is the water clean in the Hebrides? But then it's so cold.
Yeah, nobody would go in the... You'd have to be out of your mind to go in the water in the Hebrides.
Don't they surf up there?
No. Seals, maybe. Not human beings, no.
Very thick wetsuits.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry you're not feeling well. You tell everybody you're feeling great. So you got some malaise going on. You got the glass out of your throat from 2 weeks ago?
Whichever way it happened, it passed without incident.
Ah, that's great. Yeah, we won't go into that.
No, that's absolutely right, yeah. Okay, keep up the good work, Graham, and as soon as you come up with something from Biden Watch, I want you to let me know straight away, all right?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Chelsea, hello, Mark.
Oh, my dear man, hello.
Mark.
That was fast. Now, I just think, regardless of what a little man like me in Chelsea thinks of the death penalty or the American right to bear arms where you waste somebody, where they come into your home to burgle. Now, regardless of that, what I find a bit bizarre here is that unlike plumbing and electricians or bricklayers, this thing called the law, which only requires the ability to read, which I mean, most of it. I mean, I know not everybody can. I think you can, and I can, but most people can, and write and speak. Speak. I mean, you're speaking now. I'm speaking now. But because of this disgusting, stupid, caste and class-obsessed, archaic system that is now a dinosaur that is dying, being overtaken by other countries militarily, economically, culturally, in terms of modern art. I mean, do you know people are making weird...
You seem to be way off topic here, Mark. What relevance does this actually have?
You have to wear a wig and gown, you have to wear a funny wig, and you have to use language that nobody else speaks. And here's the rub, as Shakespeare said. I'll say it right now. Life, because this is English law, life, it's a word. It's a word, and it means life doesn't mean life. So why not say a portion of life? I mean, there's 3 other words. They're not going to cost any more money to the taxpayer.
Right. Well, that is just semantics, though. That's just semantics, though, isn't it? I mean, now we're into the definition of the word life. I'm not sure that's really going to get us anywhere. But thanks for that, Mike. Finally, let's talk to Munesh in Southall in this hour. Hello, Munesh.
Hello, mate. Yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword here. In principle, I agree with letting 16-year-olds vote, but with a caveat. Number one, they should be taught some politics. When you're 14 years or 15 years, you should have some education in school that teaches you about politics so you know what you're voting about and you have some kind of knowledge. But on the other hand, it's quite dangerous because when it comes to election time and one party is struggling and they want to win the vote, they might just suddenly say we're going to scrap the laws on drugs, whatever, to make it legalized and just to entice the 16-year-olds to vote. And that way they can swing the vote in their favour.
Well, the Tories are engaged in doing exactly that by fashioning their policies to appeal to the over-60s, who are the demographic who are most likely to vote for the Conservative Party. Thanks for that, Manesh. I mean, my thought on this is, if most young people under 18 are considered too immature to vote, then should there not be a test of mental competency for those over the age of 65? Because according to the Alzheimer's Society, 7% of 65-year-olds have dementia, and 17% of those over 80 have dementia. So you can't have it one way and not the other. Let's have a call in Kingsbury. Dermot.
Hi, Nick.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Great, mate.
You all right? Yeah, I just wanted to... I heard you earlier on about the scrappage scheme. It just happened that...
you didn't? Haven't mentioned it on this show.
I thought I heard you talking about it earlier on.
No, not on this show.
Oh, sorry. Maybe it was up before 12 o'clock.
I was on before 12 o'clock.
Okay.
Which station are you listening to there, Dermot?
LBC.
Ah. Are you listening to us on delay?
No, just whatever. No, I was listening to you on LBC and...
right. And you heard me talking about scrapping my car for a ULEZ, but I haven't even mentioned that on this show. But anyway, go ahead.
No, it's just that I have done it this week, funny enough, and I thought you were talking about Mr. Khan and...
No. I may have mentioned him in passing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was about half an hour ago, actually, and I done it this week, and it was just a sad day for us, really. We had to lose this car.
Right.
Because...
what kind of car was it?
It was an Astra 07 diesel, 57,000 miles.
You've got to be kidding me. It was sad to lose an Astra diesel.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
a tear to the eye?
I have a new car.
Right.
I'm just talking about, my wife used to go up to the Sainsbury's and Asda and all the rest of it.
And you fell in love with that car. It was like a pet.
It was kind of part of the family.
One of the family, exactly right, yeah.
It was like...
a diesel Astra.
Yeah, exactly. A beautiful car, no trouble. Yeah,
not really. Not what I'd call beautiful.
Done 150 miles a year.
Yeah.
150.
150
miles a year. I've got every single MOT since it was bought brand new.
Are you saying? Wait a minute. 150 miles a year.
Yeah.
Where are you? How are you using that car?
My wife only goes to the hairdresser at the weekend. To Asda in Wembley Park, and maybe to Harrow.
Do you have any idea how much it costs to run a car?
Yeah, I know exactly what it costs to run a car.
You could have, for the same money, you could have bought yourself you could have hired yourself a chauffeur to take your good lady wife.
Well, that's what we're going to do now.
Right,
so I'm waiting for my £2,000 now. I have a nearly brand new car. I have a Hyundai on our driveway. But I'm just saying the way Mr. Khan brought it in, I think it was very unfair to the unfortunate people. Because he did not give us,
and whining and moaning.
Mm-hmm.
He did not give us enough time.
Right.
He only brought it in on the 21st of September.
But you've managed to swap your car in the time given. So what are you complaining about?
He did not give us enough time.
Yeah.
Because he did not bring it in till the 21st September.
You just told me that you had swapped your car, so you have had enough time.
No, he did not give us enough time.
You just told me that you had swapped your car, so you have had enough time.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Dermot, you started this conversation by telling me that you'd scrap your car. You were very upset. It's the first time in history that anyone has been upset to lose a Vauxhall Astra, for crying out loud. Diesel yet. But OK, I'll buy it. You were in tears. What colour was it? Don't tell me. Brown. And then you're complaining that you weren't given enough time to do the thing that you just did in time. And anybody that keeps a car to do 150 miles a year needs their speedometer checked. As in, it costs about $2,000 a year to own a car. And you just did 150 miles in a year. Get a cab. So there's this Conservative London mayoral candidate. Just when you thought you'd heard everything, along comes this person. She liked tweets praising Enoch Powell and described Sadiq Khan as, quotes, our nipple-height mayor of Londonistan. She's called Susan Hall. She liked an image of Enoch Powell, infamous for his Rivers of Blood speech, on Twitter. Alongside the image are the words, it's never too late to save your country, which was a phrase once used on the website of the far-right British National Party. Hall liked a tweet posting the photo with the message, it's never too late to get London back. What? What's she talking about? It's never too late to get London back. What does that mean? What can possibly be positive about that? Susan Hall, a former Conservative councillor who backed Donald Trump, yeah, of course she did, and spoke of her joy at Liz Truss's mini-budget, was selected as the party's candidate for the mayoral race in July.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She was joyful at Liz Truss's mini-budget. The full tweet reads, please be upstanding for Councillor Susie, reminding our nipple-height mayor of Londonistan to stop trying to overturn Brexit and start doing his job. How's Brexit going, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah. In another tweet praising her questioning of the London Mayor's violence against women and girls strategy, Hall liked a comment which said, quotes, well said, Susan, that Labour traitor rat likes that sort of thing. Holy moly. I mean, this is not a serious political party anymore. Susan Hall also liked a tweet, including the claim that Sadiq Khan is, quotes, begging for Londoners to do a Tower Hamlets postal vote for May next year, and we all know how that works, #fraud, appearing to suggest that Sadiq Khan would endorse electoral corruption. A spokesman for Susan Hall's campaign says, Susan engages with many people on Twitter without endorsing their views. Londoners want a mayor who listens to people and deals with the bread and butter issues that matter to them, making our streets safer and putting more money back in people's pockets. As mayor, Susan will deliver that. Well, perhaps we'll never know. Hall, a Brexiteer, has called for the UK to withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights and backed the Home Secretary's description of small boats as an invasion. Her supporters describe her as a no-nonsense politician. Well, she's a Conservative politician. I'll sum up her position on everything. I mean, good grief. Just when you thought it couldn't possibly get any worse, it does. Let's have Telford. Hello, Paul.
Hiya.
Paul.
Hey, Nick.
Yes, Paul. Yes, Paul. What would you like to say?
Sorry. Well, this whole climate change, the science behind it it's selected science.
Selective science?
It's not true science.
What does that mean?
Well, there's a lot of... I'm trying to think. There was a Nobel laureate the other day. There's a document out on the internet somewhere where scientists are signing to say they're not behind climate change because the science isn't being used correctly.
I don't know what the exact percentage is, but it's something of the order of 99% of studies that have been published about climate change all come to the same conclusion, that it is happening and it's man that's doing it.
Yeah, well, it's like the fires in Greece. A lot of those were set off by arsonists.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be able to set them if Greece had not gone through a record period of drought.
Yeah, but Greece has lots of fires all the time.
Yeah, there's always wildfires. That is true. But I think the clue is to our situation is when you hear on the news that such and such a storm or heat wave or drought or rainstorm is record, is unprecedented, is the most that they've ever seen. So it does seem to be piling up, the evidence that what the scientists have been telling us is going to happen is actually happening right now.
Well, I like to keep an open mind on things, and I do a lot of looking around on the internet. And there was a place in Saudi Arabia recently, there's proof that there were weather modification plates, in the air, and then there was a superstorm in Saudi Arabia. Cars were under 3 metres of water. People were being blown off their feet.
So you think that the climate change is actually people deliberately changing the weather?
There's a lot of weather modification, and weather modification has been going on for 128 years.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody, but perhaps yourself, is suggesting that that is the reason behind climate change. I mean, weather modification is to seed clouds with certain chemicals and metals in order to encourage them to release the water that they've got there.
Yeah, well, what I'm trying to say is it's like electric cars. Electric cars are fine, but the batteries are not good for the environment. They're dangerous. There's fires every day from electric bikes, electric scooters, electric cars.
Yeah.
If they were run by hydrogen cells, no batteries, that would be fine.
But isn't a hydrogen cell a battery? The cell,
no, the
cell part.
Hydrogen is released and it generates electricity for the motor.
Right. Okay. All right, thanks a lot, Paul.
Your call's important to us.
Yes, this important call in Brixton from a person called Clive. Clive?
Oh, hello, good evening, Nick.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make you a prediction. The next time we see Mr. Khalife that managed to get out of Wandsworth, he'll be driving through the Iranian capital city in an open-air Cadillac, being hailed as a hero, with hundreds of head-slapping Iranians around him saying, and all this just for what was on the menu at Wandsworth.
And all this for just what was on the menu at Wandsworth? I don't get it.
Well,
there was a big long setup to a joke.
A spy.
Yes.
He was supposed to be a spy. Now,
right.
You see, what you have to realise is this, kid. The government has to be very careful about who they train, because they might turn against them one day, and it's now happened.
Right. What's that got to do with the menu at Wandsworth?
Well, the idea is that, he was supposed to have secrets, but, what secrets could the guy have had? He was just an ordinary soldier.
Right. But what's that got to do with the menu at Wandsworth?
Well, it might have been better than what they've got out there in Iran, mightn't it?
The menu?
Yeah. Oh, come on, Nick.
No. Okay, I may not have mentioned this, but I'm very, very sick.
Stop whining.
But I still don't get that. But you've tried to explain it to me many different ways. You've approached it from many different angles, Clive, and I'm still sitting here with a quizzical look on my face. But I wish you all the best, and thanks for the effort. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Oh, hi, Nick. Gosh, there's so many things going through my head while I've been waiting, but I haven't waited that long. But I think I was wondering about this. What happened to there's one.
Jan, take a breath.
Yeah.
No. Take a breath. Hold. No. Stop. Take a breath and hold it. Take a breath. In and out.
Yeah, so I'm picking up on...
No.
I'm calm, Nick. No, I'm calm now.
Is this you calm?
Yeah, I'm calm now.
Go ahead.
So, all this talk about these missing billions, and it's as if there's never going to be any accountability for it.
There won't be.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that is what I'm saying. Yes, they have got away with it. Game over.
So, yeah, because I guess no government will put the spotlight on itself.
No.
Yeah, I was reading about... I just wondered, because I was wondering, like, those billionaires, those oligarchs, the Russian oligarchs, there's one left in England, and the case against him for sanctions, that started with Ukraine.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of oligarchs left in this country, and I think we've got one running the government right now.
This government will have integrity.
Yeah, that oligarch.
The Fried-Sun, he's actually he's taking them to court for
well, if that's the case, then we can't. We can't really talk about that. But yeah,
no
doubt.
Wait a minute, but this cell, there's a cell that was done. That's what this is needed for the government.
A cell, yeah, that's what's needed with the government. A cell. I couldn't agree more. Glasgow, Scott.
Oh, hello, Nick. Just disagreeing with something you said earlier regarding if you don't keep up with the news and everything like that, the rulers will pull the wool over your eyes. I used to do that. I used to ring out BC all the time. Every minute I would look at every bit of the news. I spend 10 hours a day. I used to ring out BC all the time. It got to the point where only you would accept my call on LBC, and that still is the way now. So you may remember me, you may not. I don't know. You get millions of calls, don't you? So anyway, right. So I used to do all that. Used to drink all the time as well. Used to ring in, which probably made a more entertaining call. I'm drinking chamomile tea now, so it's not great, listening material, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I used to do all that. I don't do it now. So, I think the delivery itself, I think the spell, I want to get too spooky, I think the spell itself is in the delivery. Like, you listen to the news, and like a Sunak, like all them, it washes over you. There's no regulation. There's no opposition. It's all criminal. All this is going on. So all that you're ending up with is that you feel powerless and you feel more depressed.
Yes.
So that's why I disagree with that you should keep up with it. I've removed myself from it, hence I don't ring up anymore. I'm glad you said that. My brother Ray, he said I should listen to you, so here I am. He likes you.
Right.
And I do as well, Nick. That's why it upsets me so when you do your thing.
Well, let me maybe qualify what it was that I meant. It does get a bit overwhelming to listen to, exactly as you say, to listen to all these lies, to see in plain sight these people getting away with unbelievable criminality. I mean, some of the biggest heists in the history of money have been perpetrated on the good people of this country just recently. And nothing seems to be being done about it at all. They're totally getting away with it. They're not even trying to cover it up anymore. They're just doing it in plain sight, telling us that they're robbing from us while they're doing it.
Nick, exactly that. They're not trying to cover it. It was almost like a unique... That is exactly why I don't listen now.
Untouchable.
But in the old days, the Tories, would try everything they could to cover up the corruption.
Yeah.
That's the reason I don't listen to it now, because now they're using the corruption to deflate you, to make you feel depressed, to make you feel helpless.
It's what would Donald Trump do. Exactly right. But
that's why I don't listen.
Let me qualify it. But if you disengage...
Which I have.
Yeah, okay. What that means is you are less likely to vote, which is precisely what they want.
No, if you vote, then you're to blame for that. Take away. There is no voting. That doesn't make a difference.
Oh no! I just will not hear that, Scott. You have to vote. If the perfect party does not exist for your requirements, then pick the least bad option.
No.
Yes.
The last time I voted was for Jeremy Corbyn. Now, I know what happened, a lot of what happened behind the scenes, because I know Tommy Corbyn. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything like, I was a betraying confidence here, but I know a lot of what went on behind the scenes, right? So, and I know from following it what went on. So I know there's no point in voting. I know.
No, Scott, you're talking about... No, wait. You're talking about one specific incident in the past that you are now extrapolating to encompass all voting. The truth of it is, though...
It's rigged.
It may be rigged, but it can only stay rigged if people like you don't vote. If you vote, then it might not, in your lifetime, result in the ideal government. But by small increments, the future will get better if you vote what I would call the right way. If you vote the wrong people out, or against the wrong people, then eventually the tide will turn. It might not happen immediately, but what good things do?
Gerrymandering, right? That's just one of the things they do.
Right.
They will rig areas where they don't get their votes.
But it sounds like you're giving up, which is what they want.
I'm not giving up. I'm putting my energy into different things. As I say, I don't want to get too spooky on this. I don't want to get it's the witches and stuff. But I think there is something kind of in that, even if it's just I wouldn't be surprised if it is spells as well. But the psychological aspect of it, if you remove yourself from it, then they can't. Yeah, I'm going to mention the name now. David Icke. Yeah.
Oh.
David Icke said. I know. That's why. He said. The only way you can beat them is to be happy. Now, there's a lot of truth in that.
The only way you... Listen to me. The only way you can beat them is to vote. That is the only way. Being happy is neither here nor there. Being happy is just ignoring the truth that is around you. I mean, if you can genuinely be happy with the way things are going in your life, then that's great. But most people aren't. Most people do not have a glorious, wonderful, perfect life. Some people do, but most don't. But the only way that it can improve, and the only way that you can beat the gerrymandering, and the only way you can beat the constant tsunami of lies and untruths and misinformation and distraction techniques like, oh, look, there's a dinghy, or it'll be... the National Trust is the enemy of the people, and whatever it is next week, benefit cheats. It's just on a tight little circle, around and around and around they go, picking on the same people. The only way to change that is to vote. Now, you will not find the perfect party at the next election to vote for. Doesn't exist. But you could find the least bad option, and then the parallel lines of our existence will diverge slightly. And at first, you won't notice the difference between those two lines. But after a while, even a slight angle of difference between the parallel lines equates to a large difference between them. Just wait a while. But you must vote. And to say that I'm putting my energies into other things, for crying out loud, it's a 100-yard walk down to the school at the end of your road once every 5 years. I mean, how much energy have you got? Beverly, hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick, yeah. Before we get into a Punch and Judy like you and Steve Berry did, I broadly agree with you. But you
That's
mentioned
the way to do it.
I wasn't going to ring in, but you mentioned Hull and the first 20 mile an hour restrictions in Hull.
Yeah.
There wasn't a huge protest about it, to be honest.
No, there wasn't.
They were very specific in specific areas, so that's one point. But the main point I wanted to make was this 20 mile an hour thing won't cost anybody a penny in villages and little towns, but it will put up the cost of living in large urban areas. And the reason I know this is that probably 40 years ago, British Gas in Hull had a whole spate of incidents where their engineers got done for speeding. So they put governors on the vehicles, speed restrictors, and restricted the vehicles to 30 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And they took them out again a few months later, because what they discovered was that where an engineer did an average 5 jobs in a day, before they put the speed restrictors in, when they put them in, they only did 4 jobs a day. And so they were going to have to hire 20% more engineers and buy 20% more vans.
Well, that seems... I just don't believe it. I don't believe that that's a result of dropping your speed limit in an urban area by 10 miles per hour. Don't believe it.
Oh, well, it does, because don't forget an urban area, if you look at Hull, going into Hull from the west, not on the modern motorway one, but the older road, 2.5 miles, dead straight, dual carriageway, 40 miles an hour, it's all an urban area. And most of it, there are no footpaths on it. It simply goes through an urban area, but it doesn't have any footpaths or pedestrians actually walking on that road. Now, if you shut that down to 20 miles an hour, you do in fact hugely increase the amount of time it takes to go down that road.
Well, I'm not sure that the 20 mile an hour speed applies to dual carriageways. What makes you think it does?
It does in Wales because it's built up areas.
A dual carriageway?
Yeah, once you enter a built-up area, there's loads of there's several roads in Hull going into Hull and the dual carriageways, and they are currently 30. But there's big wide verges. The footpaths are miles from the actual carriageway itself, and they would go down to 20 under the Welsh restrictions. And it would take you a lot longer. I used to do a lot of driving about.
Not really.
In the urban area.
Most journeys are 5 miles and under, so it would put 5 minutes on your trip. Big deal.
It would for private use, but if you look, when I was working as a joiner, I would drive 6 miles across the city to go from one job to another, and then 5 miles back in another direction, and 5 miles in another direction.
Well, let me ask you this, sir. Let me ask you this, Mike. Would you, if you had a child or somebody that you love who was hit by a car, would you rather than be hit by a car going 30 or 20? Because even if it's not somebody that you love, then it's going to be somebody that someone loves, because people will get hit by cars. Would you prefer them to get hit by a car going 30 or 20?
20, I quite agree with you. But
right, okay, end of story.
Why have people then suddenly started buying everything from Amazon and DPD and shut down their own high street? They've done it because they don't want to pay the 10 pence difference. And
they've done it for a small convenience, because they don't want to put their hat, coat, scarf and gloves on and go down to the high street. They'd rather sit there with their feet up in their underwear waiting for somebody to come and bring it to them. I mean, but that's a different issue entirely.
If the high street was cheaper, they'd go to the high street. But the point being that if people...
I'm not sure they would. People pay extra to have somebody come and deliver it to them.
Yeah, I guess some do, yeah. Yeah, as I say, I broadly agree with you that we should be bringing the speed limit down there, Nick.
I didn't think that's where we were going on this, but we've met in the end. All right, thanks a lot, Mike. Manchester, Stephen.
Hello, Nick.
Stephen.
How are you doing?
All right.
I've got a bit... okay, yeah.
Great.
I think last time we talked was when... no, actually, it's a couple of weeks ago, but when Ronaldo signed for United, and you said... that's not going to work out.
No, I didn't.
I think you did. I kind of disagreed, but...
okay, all right. I don't know where that was going or what that was about, but I think I've heard that call before. Bermondsey, Lavinia Grace.
Oh, hi, Nick. Hi. Lovely to hear your lovely voice.
Is it?
Yes, it's always lovely to hear your voice. Well, what I'd like to say to you, okay, you know, the last time I spoke to you, some time ago, if I remember rightly, I actually said to you, everything is crumbling around us.
Yeah.
So this is how I feel.
Talk about foresight.
Sorry?
Talk about foresight.
Yeah, that sort of thing. But you know what's been going on in my mind over and over again, Nick? All right? I need to tell you this.
I
You
can't
might better help me.
begin to imagine. Go ahead.
Now, listen to this, right? There's this song, right? And I think it was out in the 60s.
Yeah.
Is it by the Hermits? I don't know, but can you tell me?
You're asking me what the song in your head is?
No, I'm going to sing it to you.
I can't hear it. Put your head closer to the phone.
I'm going to sing it to you now, right? 1, 2, 3. When my feet begins to crumble.
Oh, no, we've run out of time on that call. Gosh, I hate when that happens. South Shields. Hello, Mohammed.
Hi, Nick. I think, to be honest, Labour's going to try and make some points out of this, but I think both parties need to get together, Labour and Conservative, Nick, and say to the British people, we need to investigate every school, every hospital. If it's racking the place, we need to strip it down or rebuild a school. This isn't just 100 schools, Nick. This might be 500 to 1,000.
Well, it might be
schools.
It might be 7,000.
It could be. So what's the option? What the only option is, Nick, is neither knock them down, rebuild them, or strip them and rebuild them again.
Yes.
So the government needs to say to the British people, Nick, look, this may be the biggest spend that we've ever done since the First or Second World War. This is a necessity. We need to do it. And if they need to borrow, needs be.
Right, but we're in Groundhog Day because the Labour Party, who for some reason you started out by attacking as though they're going to make political capital out of this, they should make political capital out of it because they had a policy of rebuilding and replacing schools in 2010, when the Tories took over, and the Tories cancelled it. Learned behaviour, like Pavlov's dogs. Cannot stop doing it. Speaking of which, here's a call in Leicester. Hello, David.
You seen my dog?
No, certainly not. That's the topic you want to talk about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't they just muzzle these dogs?
Because the morons who've got them aren't into muzzles.
No, I'm not on about the owners. I'm on about the dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Welsh 20-mile-an-hour limit has been imposed by the Welsh government, which is a Labour government. It's nothing to do with London and Westminster.
No.
The Labour government of Wales have imposed it.
Right, but you'll find that there's a 20-mile-an-hour limit in areas of London and other cities in England and Scotland as well.
Well, there's 20-mile-an-hour limits in parts of Leicester as well.
Right.
But, anyway, I just thought I'd add that in. It's a Labour government in Wales that's done it.
Right.
But hey, you know, Labour running Wales so well, let's hope they run the country even better.
Yeah. OK. Thanks a lot, David. I mean, people are whining about driving at 20 miles an hour. Oh, for crying out loud. Concentrate on something that actually matters, as opposed to getting to your destination about 2 minutes faster than you ordinarily would do if you had the restriction of going at 20 mile an hour. They complain and complain and complain. And it's just a few small number of people who are doing all the whining, but they do it with extra loud voices, like they've got megaphones. And they complain about the ULEZ, and they complain about the 20-mile-an-hour limit, and they complain about how much it costs to get a licence, and they complain and complain and complain. Stop whining. Concentrate your ire on something that actually matters, for crying out loud. Stop getting distracted. Liz Truss attacked the Labour proposal to hand more power to the budget watchdog, warning that it would not get the economy growing. Not getting the economy growing is a subject in which Liz Truss is an expert.
Absolutely.
The former Prime Minister said it beggared belief that the opposition thought Britain's problems could be solved by bigger government. You know what beggars belief is that the slow-witted car crash that is Liz Bloomin' Truss was ever our Prime Minister in the first place. You believe that? She spoke out after Keir Starmer revealed plans to strengthen powers given to the Office for Budget Responsibility. Truss said the 25-year economic consensus has led to state spending being higher than it's been for around 50 years, taxes at their highest since World War II, and a debt of over £2.5 trillion. Yeah, that's right. Well, reality alert. State spending is high because of the massive fraud that was allowed to happen under, for example, the guise of sourcing PPE equipment, which seems to have benefited those who donate money to the Conservative Party, but which we will never really truly know about because the government has declared that it is not in the public interest to investigate it. And partly due to the economic illiteracy of the man currently at the helm, who failed to insure against rising interest rates, which means we're paying billions more to service our debt than we should be. And the only thing that he can say to recommend him for the job of Prime Minister is that he is supposed to know about money. And taxes are at their highest because the debt's been allowed to balloon from 63% of GDP when the Tories took over from Labour in 2010 to over 100% of GDP now. Compared with, say, Germany, which is at 45% of GDP. Exactly the same as they were in 2010. Germany owes the same amount. We owe over double after 13 years of the Tories, of our money safe in their hands. And we have a debt of 2.5 trillion, Liz Truss, because the Conservative Party added 1.5 trillion to the debt that we don't appear to have gotten anything for. Worse NHS, worse schools, worse care system, you name it, it's got worse. Where's the money gone? And by the way, you know Norway had the same amount of oil and gas reserves in the North Sea as we did? Well, big difference. Norway kept theirs. The Conservatives sold ours, and now Norway is home to the happiest people on earth, and their debt is 13% of their GDP. 13%. Ours is over 100%. I mean, it's not really why Liz Truss is saying these things. She appears to be totally deluded. Maybe she's high on hairspray. And what's incredible is that organisations are still giving her the opportunity to do it. Organisations like the opaquely funded so-called think tanks and lobbyists for billionaires and corporations. And you'd have to assume that they are some of the worst corporations as far as the rest of the planet is concerned. I mean, they wouldn't have to push their poisonous ideas in secret if they were helping us. The little people, not leprechauns. I mean, they fund these think tanks and lobbyists because what they're doing is against our interests. The worst polluters and poisoners need friends in high places to be able to overcome the public's anger, to distract us from what they're doing to us. So we have a system that rewards the worst people in the world by allowing them to fund the government in secret. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
I can't believe it. Liz Truss said it beggars belief that Labour think that Britain's problems will be solved by bigger government and even more powers for quangos. She said hard-working people and businesses freed from overbearing regulation, tax and debt are going to get Britain growing again, not more bureaucrats in London. Well, you know, bureaucrats and regulations, what they do is protect us from the people who wish to rip us off and ruin our lives for a quick profit. So you can understand why the Conservative right-wingers are not keen on them. Let the market decide, they say. If we let the market decide, cigarettes would be advertised as beneficial to your health. There would still be lead in petrol and sewage in our rivers. No, scratch that last one. The market has been able to decide what it does with our sewage. They charge us to take it away, award that money to themselves, and just pour the sewage straight onto the beach. The market has decided, free of any petty rules and regulations. Freedom! And I'll go back to Norway or Sweden or Finland. You know, those countries always top the happiness index. Why? Because the government gets involved and creates safe spaces for work and a soft landing if something bad happens to you. I mean, here the Tories are taking us to the American model, where it's every person for themselves, which is a policy that people like Truss and Smug,
my view,
and all of that lot, they love it because they've already made it. I mean, there's no problem for them if benefits are cut because they're certain not to need them, apart from the massive benefits that come with being an MP. But they don't count that, of course, do they? Because they're worth it. And the benefits they receive are huge and gold-plated and will last forever. Former Prime Ministers get 115 grand a year for life. Even Liz Truss.
Absolutely.
Who was there for a blink of an eye. I mean, it's not a salary or a pension, it's supposedly for expenses associated with continuing their public duties, the definition of which is so vague as to be irrelevant. No one checks. They demand it, it's given, no questions. 115 grand a year forever. An amount which will go up with inflation, at the very least, you can bet on that. But that's not the limit of the never-ending benefits payouts for a woman who decries benefits payouts, because the Lizbot will also get police protection, paid for by us, and a chauffeured limousine, also paid for by us.
The little people.
Yeah. And of course, because she's still an MP for South West Norfolk, wherever that is, she's also on 84 grand a year plus £250,000 in expenses for a job that she seems to be doing part-time because she's got enough hours in the week to tell anyone who will listen as she brays away at a lectern about how badly she's been treated and how right she was all along, despite all the evidence to the contrary. And every recent Prime Minister has claimed the full amount, by the way. All of them. From John Major onwards, David Cameron included. I mean, what has David Cameron done that could chew through 115 grand if it was solely for the upkeep of his office? Apart from writing a book in a shed. What's he actually done since he started ruining the country on the 13-year-long ride of doom that he set us on? They've all taken the maximum amount they can get, with one exception. Guess. Theresa May. All of them have claimed the maximum amount, apart from Theresa May, who claimed half, apparently. I say, if we must have an unelected Tory Prime Minister, then can it be her? I mean, let's bring back Mrs M And she can just stand there in her comedy clown shoes till the next election. We could call her classic Tory. You know, the original flavour, not the effervescent experimental flavours that were imposed on us by the Tory corporation.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And it was all about Labour announcing that it would hand more power to the OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility, to prevent a repeat of the market collapse after Liz Truss's mini-budget a year ago that led to her resignation as a Prime Minister, having been beaten by a lettuce. Under the party's plans, ministers would be legally bound to consult the watchdog on major tax and spending changes to avoid the extra that the markets charge Britain to borrow now, which is known as the moron premium. And we know who the moron was, because she's still going on about how right she was all along.
Absolutely.
Ugh. What have we done to deserve this, eh? Sidcup. Anne.
Hello.
Anne.
Nice to talk to you. All I can say is I don't think Rishi Sunak wants to stop these people from coming. I remember 2 years ago, it was when we had this COVID, and Priti Patel, whatever her name is, said she's going to stop the boats coming over. That was 2 years ago. Now, Rishi Sunak I think he could stop this tomorrow. He's a Prime Minister, so why isn't he stopping it? Why is he letting British taxpayers pay for these people to come and take over Great Britain?
Well, they're not taking over Great Britain, but there is a financial outlay that if people are waiting for a year for their asylum process to be completed, they're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, economically inactive, and are something of a drain on the public purse. So, that is right. But so why do you think that he wouldn't want to fix it?
Well, I think and I'm going to be honest here, I think between him and Khan, I'm not sure what country Rishi Sunak comes from. Is it India or Pakistan?
India.
Well, I think he wants Britain to be just like India. And
for what reason, though? I mean, he represents the Conservative Party, which is that's not really doesn't sound like Conservative policy.
Let's be honest, that man is absolutely loaded. There is people going about now with their children who they're finding it hard to give them meals. He doesn't care about British people. Him and Sunak make this a third world country SO, if I'm honest with you.
Right, OK. Thanks, Anne. Croydon. Callie.
Hi.
Yes, Callie.
Hello. Hi. So it's just in answer to your question from last night's show.
Oh, OK.
So one thing the Tories have done is they've increased the ISA and JISA limits year on year.
I'm sorry, I missed everything that you just said. They've done what now?
They've increased the ISA and JISA allowances.
The ISA and JISA allowances. From what to what?
So back in 2013, I think it was just short of £12,000, increasing to £15,000. The ISA limit now is 20.
Right. Is that it? So for those people who've got an extra 20 grand lying about, then it's been great.
Yeah.
Which is virtually nobody at all.
Well, we'll agree to disagree.
Right. Well, OK. OK. So we found one. I'm not sure that really counts. So they've increased the ISA allowances. In line with inflation? Probably, yes. I mean, 20 grand now is, I don't know when 12 grand was. It's not really even worth talking about. So what? But, OK, 20 grand. Whoop-de-doo. You'll be able to be comforted by that if you can't afford to heat or eat this winter. That if you had 20 grand lying about the place, then you'll be able to stick it in an ISA. What great news. Bromley, hello, Joe.
Hello, mate. A great show as always.
Thanks.
Can you remember back to a time when we kind of all bumbled along and it was all right? It was fine, wasn't it? It was fine.
Yeah.
Now it's like catastrophe upon catastrophe, mayhem upon mayhem.
That's right.
Let me ask you this question.
It's what the people voted for, apparently.
What the people voted for. What was his name again? Boris what? Boris. He was the flavour of the month, wasn't he? He was literally wallpapered everywhere across the country.
Yeah.
Where is he now? We never hear his name, barely, do we?
Are you kidding me, Joe? He's got a high-profile column in the biggest selling mid-market paper in the land.
Written by a teenager for £10 an hour.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Show. Let me ask you this fundamental question. How do we feel, generally, about the armed police officers saying, right, that's it, I'm done, have your guns back, I'm not going out, because, hey, there we are, this is where we got to. Now,
you certainly are making a lot of sense there, Joe. What are you talking about?
Well, you've heard it in the news, of course. The armed response units are now handing back their guns and saying, look, we don't want to be involved.
Are they?
Yes, they are.
Armed response units?
Armed response are now stating that they're going to not get involved and they're handing the guns back. It was on the news earlier on. You can't tell me you didn't know.
No, I didn't listen to the news. I was making a cup of tea.
Good man. But listen, can I ask you this fundamental question?
Okay.
Right? When a criminal points a gun, he has to think once whether to pull the trigger or not. Now, the armed response unit officer has now got to think 10 times about whether he pulls the trigger, otherwise he'll lose his job, he'll go to court, he might go to jail. What kind of world is that?
A safer one? I don't know, Joe. I've got absolutely no idea what you're talking about. 0345. See, that's why some people come with exclamation marks. It's a sign.
Warning.
That's what it says. Isle of Wight. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Is it Nick or Nickers?
For you, mate, Nick.
Okay, so I've just been listening to one of your podcasts earlier.
With me and Carol?
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I would recommend that to anybody. It's really funny. These dogs, dangerous dogs. Well, I bought a dog I bought a second dog in November last year, a border collie. Up until he was castrated in February, when it was a year, he was okay. But since then, he doesn't like other dogs, and he could be seen to some as a dangerous dog if he wasn't muzzled. Whenever I take him out, if he's off the lead, I'm always watching out for other people. Then I've let him off. But any dog can be dangerous. But these bully XLs, obviously it's the teeth and the jaws that do the damage. Now, those dogs in particular have got a bite force of 300. Compared to, say, a Labrador or a Collie, which is about 200 to 250. Now, the bite force on those XL bullies is pretty much similar to a Rottweiler. If you go into territory of Mastiffs, then you're talking 500. Then if you talk about a dog Argentino, an Italian Mastiff, dog de bull, an Italian Mastiff has got a bite force of 700. Now, what's going to happen when they ban these dogs? People just going to buy another breed of dog with this, that can do exactly the same damage.
Okay, well, they should ban them too. I mean, we don't have to be scientific about it. You just look at the dog. You can tell whether it's the kind of dog that an ordinary member of the public should own, and if it isn't, then we'll get rid of it.
Have you got a dog?
No.
Have you ever had a dog?
No.
Right. Well, most right-minded people, they get a dog from a pup and they train it to, first of all, to go to the toilet in the right place, sit, stay, leave it, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think majority of people, decent people, could get one of those American bullies, make them a bully XL, and make it into a nice dog.
No, I very much doubt that that's true.
Do you really think so?
Yeah, I really think so. Yeah.
So what is it about them dogs?
Because they have been apparently they are almost all descendant from one dog, which means they're badly inbred, and they're bred for the specific purpose of them being aggressive. Now, you can't tame that any more than you could tame a lion. People aren't allowed to own a lion and walk it around in public. Why are they allowed to own something like that? If you can't win in a fight with an animal, you shouldn't be able to keep it as a pet.
But you talk about lions, though the Italian Mastiff that I mentioned has got a same bite force as the lion.
Okay, well then that shouldn't be allowed either.
The thing is, who's going to police, like banning dogs, who's going to police it? Now, Richie Sunak...
The police.
But we haven't got enough police to do, the other stuff, catching criminals and, keeping law and order. I mean, Richie Sunak, he said, right, we're going to put a black... I think he said he's going to put a ban on those dogs, didn't he?
Well, he said it's another one of these I'm gunners. I seriously doubt that come the end of the year anything's going to happen.
What did he say about the people coming over on boats? He said he was going to stop them.
Well, exactly
but
right.
Instead, more come over.
More come over,
But...
He's been bounced into doing something about it because the Daily Mail it's like story after story after story of these devil dogs attacking people, and so he can't not do anything because he is Rishi Sunak is dragged around on a piece of string by the people who write the Daily Mail. So it's doing nothing was not an option. So he was bounced into saying that he was going to do something. And once you say you're going to do something, it's almost as though the papers say, "Oh well, that's that problem solved. Now we can move on." But I bet we get to the end of the year and nothing happens.
Well, I mean, also, what's going to happen with the people who've already got them?
Well, then sadly, they're going to have to wave them bye-bye.
Well, I mean, when they outlawed the pit bull, I think they said if you've got a pit bull, you can keep it. You've got to have it neutered so it can't reproduce, and then by 15 years' time, there should be no more pit bulls. But there are still there's some pit bull types, mooching around the streets.
Right. Well, we should stop mucking about with this and just actually deal with it seriously and permanently. Paddington, Ali.
Had it.
Ali.
I've got 2 points to make, basically. Adding on to what Aziz called up a bit earlier. Basically, I did the same thing. I had first-hand experience with a refugee, and I was speaking to him. I just got speaking to him normally. He was doing some work, and I just got talking to him. I asked him, how did you get here? And he said, he went to Germany on a holiday visa from just a normal, one of the countries he came from. And he goes, went to Germany, and then he called up his uncle in the UK, and he got over here on the boat. And the way he explained it, it was just so easy. He made it sound like it was just so simple to get from Germany to the UK. And he sort of had glee on his face. He, was happy that he got it so easy. He was over here, he had 2 telephones, and he was basically living up pretty large. He was with all his cousins and everything. Right. They had called him over, his uncles. And
so he had means of support. And a support network, and maybe he just got lucky. But crossing the channel in a dinghy is not easy. You might find it easy for you personally at that one time that you crossed, but there's a lot of people die on that route.
But the way he'd said it, he's made it sound like it was pretty simple. He got to France, he just waited for a telephone call, and he got over. Secondly, we have a hotel where we live, and that is an immigrant hotel. What it is, the owners love it. The hotel owners love it. They're at full capacity. They've got no issues. They can send the invoice to the government, and the government just pays it. No questions asked, and they're probably charging wherever they want.
Yes.
And, the hotel owner's probably gone to Florida or something for holiday. He's left the rest of us just, I don't mind them, but obviously it does. Whoever's living in the area.
I mean, that situation does not make any sense, because what we're talking about is people who have come here not in order to put their feet up and enjoy our luxurious benefits lifestyle, because no such thing exists. They want to work. They want to make money. They want to improve their lives, just like everybody else. These are people too, and they want the same things as every other person on earth. They want a happy life, and they want to enjoy themselves and treat themselves and have some sort of security. And the way we get about doing that is by working. But to essentially warehouse these people and stop them from doing that doesn't make any kind of sense for anybody. It doesn't make any sense for them, because it must be soul-crushing to be refused the one thing that you want to do that can improve your life, which is to work. And it doesn't make any sense for us because they're not earning any money, they're not paying any tax, and all they're doing is costing us. So everything about it seems wrong to me, but I guess we're stuck with it. Macclesfield. Hello, David.
Hello, good evening.
David.
Oh, okay, well, forget the Chinese because it's a different style of thing. But anyway, my particular headline is how to run a household budget. Now, what are the benefits of HS2?
Are you asking me or are you about to tell me?
I'm asking you. Yeah, what I'm asking you is I would ask any other person.
Right.
What are the benefits of HS2?
I am not perhaps the best person to ask that question of because I can't see them myself.
Okay. Right, well, the next thing is, doesn't that equate to 100 billion plus spend?
Doesn't what equate to? I've listed no benefits.
Okay. Well, any benefits that will be derived from HS2, does that equate to 100 billion?
It feels like I'm taking a test here, David. I'm asking your opinion, not for you to ask mine.
Well, okay, fair enough. It's a waste of money. Complete waste of money. I mean, how else could £100 billion have been spent to improve social living and the people of this country?
It's hard to really get your head around how much it has cost without a train having run yet. It really is extraordinary. But when you, and I appreciate that, David, thanks for all your many questions. When you look at other projects, it becomes a bit clearer. There's a thing called the Lower Thames Crossing Scheme, which apparently aims to improve transport between Essex and Kent by tunnelling under the Thames, and is set to cost £9 billion, or £700 million per mile. Now, there's been 5 consultations and more than £250 million spent on a 63,000-page planning application. This scheme is yet to be granted consent. So we, the poor, penurious taxpayer, have spent £250 million, so one branch of government can ask another branch of government for permission to build a tunnel. No such tunnel has actually been built yet. It's just the asking has cost £250 million. So it comes into focus exactly what is going on in this country, which seems to be, how else to describe it, but a clown show. Perhaps I'm being unkind. Let's talk about this with Steve Berry. Steve is a motoring journalist and former Top Gear presenter. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Nick.
What's your take on this?
I think it's ridiculous. Nick, can I ask you what the car that you learnt to drive in was?
You could ask. I'm not sure I could remember.
Oh, come on.
I've got no idea what car I learned to drive. Well, it wasn't my own. It was the one that came with the driving teacher.
Right, well, my dad was old school and he got me a car. That was it. From farming stock, my father. He was full of tricks like that. He got me a car, and it was a Citroen Ami. Curiously, Citroen make a car called the Ami now. It's nothing like the one I had. Ken, I called it, because the registration was K-E-N. And it had drum brakes, and it had cross-ply tyres, and the steering wheel had a kind of an effect on its direction of travel. If you slammed the brakes on, it would try and wrap itself into a figure of 8. Reducing the speed limit when there's been 40 years of progress in the design and the construction of motor cars is preposterous. Lopping a third of the speed of cars in built-up areas when there have been massive advances in the safety of those cars in the last 40 years, as I say again.
Yeah, but the advances in the safety are for the people inside the car, not the people who are bouncing off the bonnet.
Not so, mate. ABS, radial tyres, disc brakes, traction control, stability control. Do you realise how much more effectively a car can stop now than it did when I started driving.
I'm not disputing the technology inside the car, but even with all that technology bristling inside your modern vehicle, it's still being driven by a moron human being.
Well, why not actually police and implement the 30 mile an hour speed limit, which isn't? It's not. Or here's a suggestion. Why not say that from the 1st of January 2024, every vehicle on sale in Britain has to regulate its speed via the onboard GPS satellite navigation that is fitted to every new car. Then cars wouldn't be able to exceed the speed limit. No one would be able to be prosecuted for speeding. And if the car did get reported for exceeding the speed limit, then whatever punishment there was would go straight to the manufacturer, not to the driver.
Right.
Why not do that?
Well, it seems odd that you would suggest such a thing, because you've been... what I'm getting from you is that you don't really like any outside restrictions on your ability to drive however you want.
Well, what I'm saying is that this 20-mile-an-hour law that's being suggested in Wales, and I'm using the word suggested, is yet another law, like the one about the American Bully XL. Let's ban a breed that doesn't actually exist. Go on, try that. It's another of those laws in this country that will not be implemented. I tell you what, Nick, let's get together, you and I, the first time somebody gets busted for exceeding 20 miles an hour. But don't hold your breath, mate.
Well, why not? I mean, the only speed restrictions that people adhere to religiously are those of an average speed.
Exactly.
Now, if on a motorway, if it says average speed cameras in operation, 50 mile an hour is the limit, then absolutely everybody is doing precisely 50 miles an hour. So why couldn't such a thing work at a 20 mile an hour zone?
Well, it could, but it won't happen.
Why not?
Because it would be too expensive to implement, and it would be wildly unpopular. Once they started sending speeding fines and points to the majority of motorists will exceed, the majority, not a minority, the majority will exceed this ridiculous. Why not bring back the Red Flag Act? Why not get a bloke to walk in front of your motor vehicle, like in the early days of motoring, warning equestrians and pedestrians of your imminent passing by waving a red flag at them? There have been enormous advantages in the safety of cars and in their ability to stop safely. And the reward for that is to lop a third of the speed that they're allowed to do in a built-up area. It's preposterous.
Yeah,
and it won't be, but it's okay, because the police won't actually be able to police it, so don't worry.
You seem to be saying two different things, which
no.
You are. You're saying that on the one hand, no such thing should exist, and on the other hand, it won't make any difference even if it does, because A, the police won't be able to police it, and B, no one's going to pay any attention anyway.
Yeah, well, what it is willy waving. Up in Manchester, we have a mayor, Andy Burnham. Every so often he pops up because he realises that amongst the limited powers that he has, he's able to do something. So he does something because he wants to be noticed, and he wants to show that he's not going to let those mandarins in Whitehall tell him what to do. That's exactly what's going on in Wales. The Welsh Government are saying, yeah, we can do this, so we're going to do it. And that's what this is about at the end of the day, isn't it? Come on.
Well, of course it isn't. It's about saving lives. It's about making areas more pleasant for the people who are drivers. When they get out of their car, they're pedestrians. And then they will notice the improvement in their environment if people drive more considerately, more slowly, if they're persuaded to leave their cars at home and walk or cycle. Areas are just nicer with fewer cars.
Oh, really? Are they nicer to live in because people are actually earning a decent living? I love this socialist utopia where we all cycle everywhere and we all walk everywhere and we all earn a decent salary. The reality is that the freedom that a car gives to people, one of the freedoms that it gives them, is to be able to work unsociable hours, a greater distance from where they live, than they would be able to do if they relied on a blinking bicycle or walking
but
to work.
None of those things are going to be made an impediment by lopping 10 mile an hour off your journey speed. What difference will it make?
I can't tell you how ridiculous it feels. I'm sat in my car right now. It's it's still giving me good service. It's a 9-year-old Jag. It's a fairly quick car. It's a very sophisticated car, very competent car, much faster. But get this, much better at stopping than the old Citroen that I learnt to drive in 40 years
but
ago.
it only stops when you're paying attention. The problem with you can put as much technology as you like in a car, as we previously discussed, it only reacts when the person inside reacts. And the person inside is a human being. And they're fiddling with the radio and they're scratching and they're looking at the hot person who's walking by and they're not paying attention as to where they're going or what speed they're doing or who is getting knocked over while they're doing it.
I'm guessing you don't know too much about cars, Nick.
What do you need to know? You need to know
it
goes, it stops. What else do you need to know?
No, sir. No, sir. Modern cars have inbuilt combination of radar and cameras, and if you don't see the obstacle in front of you, the car stops itself.
Oh, do me a favour. Does your car do any of that? Of course it doesn't. Most people's cars don't. Most people's cars don't have that kind of technology. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? 15 years ago, I drove a VW Phaeton from Manchester to Brighton.
Phaeton? Okay, well, that's like the VW's version of a Bentley.
Once. You don't know what you're talking about, mate.
Yes, I do. The Bentley the Phaeton is based on a Bentley. You're talking about driving a Bentley.
Yeah, that was 15 years ago. And guess what? All that technology has trickled down to the sort of cars that people own and drive. We're in a world now where the car knows if you're emergency braking because it realises how quickly you've transitioned from the accelerator to the brake pedal.
Right, it doesn't make any difference. It relies on human. It relies on humans identifying a problem and then reacting accordingly. And as has been proved ever since a human being got behind the wheel of a car, we can't do that very well.
Try driving at 20 miles an hour.
I have done.
See how silly it feels when you drive.
It doesn't make the slightest difference how silly it feels. For crying out loud, you were talking about willy waving. Who's willy waving now? It emasculates you. Is that what you're saying?
No, I know a bit about cars, so I'm talking about what cars are really like.
Well, I know about human beings. It doesn't matter what technology you've got in a car. It still relies on the person behind the wheel.
I think, mate, that you should go and get a job waving a red flag in front of people's cars. We should go back to how it was 120 years ago. And the annoying thing for me is that people like the AA and the RAC, who started out campaigning for the rights of motorists, and they were the people who campaigned against the Red Flag Act and said how ridiculous it was that somebody had to walk in front of a car waving a flag to warn people.
I cannot believe that you're still going on about red flags. What the hell has that got to do with what we're talking about?
Because we're going backwards, mate.
No, we most certainly are not going backwards. We're going forwards, just at 10 miles an hour, slower than people might feel more masculine doing. 71% of... Let me put it like this. 71% of car journeys are 5 miles or under. 5 miles at 30 miles an hour, 10 minutes to get there. 5 miles at 20 miles an hour will take you 15 minutes. Do you have such a busy and important life that you cannot afford to lose 5 minutes?
What I want is for the legislators to stop willy-waving and recognise that cars are much, much better at steering and stopping.
Yeah, but people are still the same.
The car is braking for you, mate.
Of course it isn't.
Listening. It's got cameras. It's got radar. It knows that you want to stop quickly when you get your foot off the accelerator and put it on the pedal quick. So the car takes over and brakes harder for you. It's called technology, mate. We're not driving Vauxhall Vivas now, are we?
You might not be, but most people don't have that kind of technology in their car, and neither would it make any difference because the human has to act first.
Why isn't there, I'm going back to 40 years ago now, why isn't there a campaign to educate pedestrians about how they should behave? Because 40 years ago, there was the Green Cross Code. There was Dave Prowse, Darth Vader, Luke, I am your father. He was there telling people how to cross the road. And the fact that that we can remember that, because I'm sure you remember it as well as I do.
So the penalty for not remembering your Green Cross Code is, as far as you're concerned, death.
What I'm saying is this. All of the responsibility has been placed on the motorist.
Yeah, quite rightly.
Quite rightly.
Yeah.
Well, what about the pedestrian?
Well, the pedestrian is not driving a 2-ton vehicle. The driver is.
So the pedestrian can behave how the hell they like?
No, of course not. They have to take care and pay attention to what it is they're doing. But nobody can be perfect in their actions at all times. And if a pedestrian makes a mistake, then they are going to get injured. If a driver makes a mistake, then someone other than the driver is going to get injured.
Right. Well, okay. I'm saying this. Right now, the technology exists to make every single new car sold in Britain observe the speed limit. No political party is suggesting that that's what should happen. And that says it all to me. It says they're not serious about it. They don't want to stop people from speeding. They just want to grandstand and say that they're interested in safety and all that sort of stuff. It exists right now. It's not science fiction. If Wales had brought that in,
based on your response to this tiny impediment to the speed at which you can drive, your head would have exploded.
I'm saying this.
Yes. Just as long as you don't talk about red flags again.
If they were serious, and they're not, the technology exists right now. If you're next time you're behind an Ocado van or a post office van or a John Lewis van, you'll see on the back that it says that the vehicle's speed is restricted.
Yes.
It's restricted by the onboard GPS satellite navigation system that works with the car's computer and restricts its speed according to the posted speed limit on the road it's driving on. Every single new vehicle in the UK could be fitted with that, then there would be no speeding. Is any political party saying that's what should happen?
Yeah.
No, because they're not serious about it.
Well, because of comical extremists such as yourself would have a fit that you could see from space. But because just a small impediment it gets to such a reaction that it's almost like you're reacting against being locked up for the rest of your life. It's just 10 miles an hour for crying out loud.
1/3 of the speed is a small... 1/3? Really? That's small? Wow. Can you imagine if you lost 1/3 of your pay, mate? Would you think that was a small reduction in your pay? It's 1/3. That's not small. Do you know what's small? 5%, 3%. Not 1/3, 33 1/3. That's a lot.
Right. Okay.
Try driving at 20 on a road in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night.
Yeah, the problem with driving at 20 on roads is people like you in a Jag right up behind me, flashing your lights, trying to get by and undertaking on a roundabout. But apart from that, it's just fine. Steve, I've got to go, but thanks for that that performance. Appreciate it. Steve Berry, motoring journalist, former Top Gear presenter. I think that's what you call a heated debate. Stanwell. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Yeah, all right, thanks.
Good stuff. Good to talk to you. I'm hoping I get the privilege to talk to you as long as the other callers did.
Is that a complaint?
No.
It sounds like a complaint. Uh-oh.
I've spoke to you in the past, and I get cut off quite quickly, although nothing I say is overly...
In your opinion?
For sure. Look, we know the Conservative government always wanted to get rid of the NHS.
By the way, my glamorous assistant next door is just written up on my screen. Cut him off now and move on.
For sure. No, I can completely understand.
Right, so you're on thin ice. Go ahead.
Okay, So the Conservative government, we know, are not the government for the poor people that are, struggling through and whatever else. And Starmer has reneged on all of his promises on the things that he's going to do to help the poor people. I just wonder why it is that you still somehow, you hold a soft spot for Keir Starmer.
I don't. That is completely untrue. I do not hold a soft spot for Keir Starmer. I'd be surprised to learn if anybody does. What I do hope for is that, and I live in expectation of, if a Labour government does win the next general election, then this country would be different by small increments, and even small increments. If two lines are parallel, then they will remain equidistant forever. But if you just differentiate them their route by 1 degree, well, at first it might not seem like that much, but give it a year, and those two lines will be far apart. That's the plan, I think.
Okay. So what I'm saying, Nick, if Jeremy Corbyn was in Keir Starmer's position, do you think he would have reneged on all of the promises that he had made?
No.
No. Okay, that's all I wanted. Nick, I have no more to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. He knew when time was up and he left. Perfect call. I have no idea what that call was about. He seemed to be gathering information for a case that he's going to bring against me later. Perhaps I've said the wrong thing. I'm kind of mystified. He had a couple of questions in mind. He just needed the answers, and that was that. He's going to go and write it up and present his findings to a police person near him soon. Worcester. Hello, Matt.
Matt Taylor.
Matt.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Is that Nick?
Is that Matt?
Yes, it's Matt Taylor, and I am politically homeless.
What does that mean?
I need you to help me, Nick.
Right. Okay, you're politically homeless. You don't like the Labour Party, and you're not a greenie.
No, I used to vote Tory.
Yeah.
Now I vote Green.
Right. Oh, you vote Green. So you're not politically homeless. You're a greenie.
No, but I also want to vote Labour. I consider that homeless.
Right.
And I need you to help me, please, Nick.
I would choose either of the above, or another of your choosing at the moment of at the moment of truth. But you must vote regardless.
I will vote. Well, I would like to go and live in Lithuania, where my beautiful partner's from.
Oh yeah.
But we can't do that now because 30 days of the 6 months or something's stopping me from doing that.
If you're married, can't you go and live there?
I can get married to her, but I have to live there for 7 years to get the passport.
Right. But you could live there.
Oh, I can live anywhere I want, Nick.
Well, you can't.
No, I can, but I can't get a passport and allowed to live anywhere I want because of Brexit.
No, but you can't live where you want because of Brexit.
I can't. Oh, right. Okay.
Okay. All right. I don't really know what you're talking about, Matt. Because of Brexit, you cannot go and live in the European Union, as far as I'm aware. But if you marry a Lithuanian, then I would assume that you would be able to go and live in Lithuania, wherever that is. Look it up on a map, Matt, before you decide to go there. That's my best recommendation to you. Thanks a lot, mate, for, whatever that was. Let's have Wandsworth. Ian.
Hey, hello, Nick.
Ian. An ecstasy of fumbling. Are you speaking to me from a wind tunnel?
No, I'm on my bike towards Dover.
Right.
Sorry, I put the fan off.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, firstly, there are funny films. I disagree with the fact that, like the Bruce Brothers was not a funny film.
Oh, not funny at all. Are you kidding me? There was no laughs in that film at all.
Oh, man, Aretha Franklin coming out with the chickens? That was funny.
No, it wasn't funny. Her singing was tremendous, but funny it wasn't. Anyway, we'll agree to disagree. Go ahead.
Okay, so I lived most of my life in Spain, right?
Oh, yeah.
And, since, even before Franco, I went over there, in 1972. I came back to England in 2010. And, obviously, it was a bit of a shock to the system. But in Spain, you don't have to have a cost of living. There's more unemployment, but you have to understand this country is a new democracy. Only 30, 35 years. And they do not believe so much in, everything has to be paid for, bank transfers. So a lot of the economy is the electrician will help a family who is a plumber, who will help him. They have a community system, and you don't charge people.
Well, you're talking about the black market.
No, it's not a black market. It's a community. You want to call it a black market? No. I know you could say, it's under the radar, but it's not cash. They will do it just because they're neighbour.
But that doesn't explain an unemployment problem, though.
Well, people that are unemployed actually do it. They do these kind of little jobs, handymans and everything like that. And there is another thing in Spain. What you call unemployment is...
Well, we're losing you, Ian. Please speak directly into the phone. There you are.
I have to put my little finger under the microphone to hold it so it doesn't drop.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. So what you also have in Spain is that people work for the government. They work for institutions.
Yeah.
And
we do that here.
Yeah, I know, but it's not a job. It's not open up to everyone.
What?
It's only open up to people that do the oposiciones, which is kind of like a tenure thing. So once they get that job, it's theirs for life.
Yeah,
so
but that's a job, though. We were talking about the unemployment rate in Spain.
Yes, but they don't count as employed. They're part of the unemployment because they take the money out of the coffers.
I'm not really getting it, Ian. I don't really understand, and I'm not really that interested. That we're comparing ourselves to Spain and Greece is just ridiculous. I mean, if we have fallen so low that's who we are comparing ourselves with in order to feel better about ourselves, then how pathetic is that? God, we used to be a contender. We could have been someone. Richmond, Angela.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I am great, mate.
We can't go back into Europe, at least not for a considerable length of time. We can't pick up where we left off. It's not like picking up an old coat that you just left by the door and putting it on again. All our rules will have to be changed, and that includes...
They wouldn't, though, because we haven't really diverted from any of the rules that we used to be under when we were in the EU.
No, I'm not talking about those sorts of rules. I'm talking about the basis which we enter Europe in. It won't be the same deal that we had before.
Right.
And also the euro, we will have to join the euro.
Why do you say that, though?
The pound,
why do you say we'd have to join the euro?
Because that's the conditions of rejoining Europe.
No, but what if we didn't rejoin Europe? What if we just rejoined the single market, the actual trading part? For the benefit of our for money, essentially.
Well, I'm not sure about what the rules are around joining the single market. Again, it might be the fact that we have to adopt the euro.
No, it wouldn't, because there's countries that are in the single market but are not in the EU who've retained their own currency.
Right.
I mean, Norway, Switzerland, Iceland and Liechtenstein all still have their own currency. They haven't joined the euro. So that's not something to be concerned about, I don't think.
Yeah, but we're not even considering joining just the single market, though, are we?
Well, we're not considering doing anything.
With the customs union.
We're not considering doing any of the above, which just seems bizarre to me. The government is still in the business of signing these piddling little trade deals and calling it a win. It's like they've stolen £100 from you and they've given you back £1 and said, there you are, you're £1 up.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's ridiculous. But it was ridiculous for us to come out in the first place.
On that, we can agree. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Angela. 03. Who would you vote for, by the way?
Who would I vote for?
Yeah, if there was a general election.
Well, I'm in a constituency where it's toss-up between the Conservatives and the Liberals. I don't like the Conservatives full stop, so I always vote Liberal Democrat.
Right, tactically voting. Regardless of what their policies are, it's just...
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the Liberals' policy are if they keep the Tories out.
Right, okay. Thanks, Angela. Yeah, the Express went... they tried to go full in and do a gotcha. This is the headline. Protesting Ramonas stumped after being asked to explain why they miss the EU. Die-hard Remainer activists who marched across London this afternoon were left squirming by a simple question asking what they missed about being in the European Union. This is the Express. Remainers struggled to respond when asked what they missed about the European Union. Thousands of pro-EU protesters took to the streets in the capital, demanding the UK rejoin the European bloc. One woman who was wearing a yellow curly wig and a shirt emblazoned with the EU flag suggested that the economies of other EU member states have, quotes, recovered a lot better than we have. Which is true. The interviewer pointed out, Germany is in recession, though, and we're not, so how is that true? Well, let me help you there. Germany's debt to GDP is 40%. Our debt to GDP is over 100%. And Germany's long-term interest rate, the rate that it can borrow on the markets, is 2.5%. Ours is 4.4%. We get charged more because we are seen as a riskier bet, which is also known as the moron premium.
Absolutely.
Because of that moron. And Germany actually makes things for a living. Our economy is dependent on us buying things we don't need with money we haven't got. And in Germany, you don't have to wait 2 years to be seen by a consultant. And you can live in any one of 26 other European countries and trade with them without having to fill in enough forms to fill the Albert Hall. But that's just me saying that, a lefty woke Ramona. But I needn't have bothered because the Express then seemed to refute its own argument by blurting out that, in the latest Office for National Statistics figures, the UK economy shrank by 0.5%. Which is a lot more than the 0.1%, which is what Germany's economy shrank by. An economy that's $4.26 trillion compared to ours, which is less than 3/4 that size. So, smaller. And the Mail reports that in Britain, the Purchasing Managers Index, which is a measure of companies' confidence in the future, the prevailing direction of the economy, it shrank to its lowest level since January 2021, and we're on course for our economy to shrink 0.4% in the third quarter, having already shrunk by 0.5%, which is a lot worse than Germany is doing. But seemingly unaware that it's hold its own argument under the waterline, the Express went on. In another encounter, they write, a protester was asked what he missed about the European Union, and the man hesitated for a number of seconds before simply responding, I like the EU. Yeah, that's right. Everything about it. Freedom to live and work where you want, freedom to trade with 450 million other people without impediment, having a say in our own laws instead of just accepting what more powerful players impose on us because we aren't big enough to dictate terms. Our government is braying about joining the CPTPP and getting a 0.08% boost over 10 years, while we lost 4 to 5% off our economy by leaving the EU. And when they say, I like the EU, they might be thinking, well, I like money. And I bet every penny I've got that no leaver can articulate what they love about being out of the EU. Apart from some fantasy about being free, which was a lie peddled by the rich who were betting that our economy would suffer if they could only get enough gullible people to believe the propaganda about us being held back by Brussels. And they won that bet. They made huge fortunes, hundreds of millions of pounds, by betting that the thing they were advocating for, leaving the EU, would be a disaster for us, the little people. What about that doesn't sound like treason? I mean, just about the only paper that covered the Rejoin March at all, the Express, wanted to do a hit job on the Rejoin March, but they failed to score in front of an open goal. They had a blank sheet of paper. They could have written anything, but they made the Rejoiners' arguments for them. I can only assume because there was no one senior in the office today, and they let the work experience kids write it. And by the way, the polls are clear. Public opinion has turned against Brexit. A YouGov survey finds that most Britons would now vote to remain in the EU if the referendum was held again, and likewise would vote to rejoin if such a vote was called. How would Britons vote if the EU referendum were taking place in 2023? 55% said that the EU referendum, if it took place now, they would vote to remain. 3 in 10 said they'd vote to leave. That gives a headline voting intention of 64% to remain, 36% to leave. Headline voting intention, that excludes those who either don't intend to vote or don't know. So it's not 48 to 52 anymore, it's 64 to 36 to stay. 57% of Britons say that the country was wrong to vote to leave in 2016. That's the highest figure that YouGov has ever recorded. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. By comparison, 1 in 3 think it was the right call. 63% of Britons would consider Brexit to have been more of a failure than a success, including Nigel Bloomin' Farage.
Brexit's going great.
He doesn't think that anymore. So, I was going to say good effort, the Express, but it wasn't even that. It was just so half-hearted. Kind of pathetic, really. A little bit sad, actually. Harrow. Jonathan. Harrow.
Good evening, Nick.
Yes, sir.
I had a few things I want to tell you that you might not be happy with.
You've had a few? Booze?
No, I've had to take my shirt off.
You've had to take your shirt off?
Because I was hot and then cold.
Yeah.
But I have a few things to tell you about your show that you might not be happy with that. So before that, can I quickly say that my money situation, I voted the Brexit.
Mm-hmm.
And my money situation
now you've lost your shirt.
No, listen to me.
I am listening to you.
My money situation was going from bad to worse.
Yes.
And now I've realized that in this country, you can get loans very easily.
Loans.
Because I wanted to buy a new Jaguar, and I did not even have money for that.
Right.
It was second-hand, actually.
Are we talking about cars or cats?
Yeah. And then this afternoon, I came back from the very multicultural part of the city.
Yes. Which one?
And the London.
The London.
Yeah. In Harrow, I only went...
I didn't mean which city, I meant which part, but never mind. The London, yes.
I was in the multicultural part of Harrow today.
Right.
And I don't want to be offensive.
But
I was counting how many white people I could see.
Mm-hmm. Approximately how many?
And one...
more than that?
2...
More than that?
6 million.
Less than that?
I think a lawyer in Calcutta has stolen my money. That's true.
Right.
Because I came back and I'm in my kitchen as I'm talking to you, and my entire wall cupboard literally fell on top of me.
Well, now, wait a minute. Can I ask you a question about this?
Go on.
Were you in the kitchen with your shirt off where you prepare food?
Disgusting.
Oh.
No, it just completely fell off the wall.
Yeah. What's that got to do with a lawyer in Calcutta?
Because my financial situation, the problem is that I was a bit silly voting for the Boris.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have to now try and leave the country.
Why are you whispering at me now?
Usual issues with
right, the next door neighbour is banging on the wall. Keep that racket down. told you
But
before.
I would like to, unfortunately, give you a bit of feedback.
You're going to give me a bit of feedback on this show.
Because your callers now, no offence to them,
Yeah, morons.
but no, a lot of them, you need, a lot of them are now becoming sort of, they sound like the crusty lefties.
Oh, you mean the wokey-cokies?
Okie dokie. If you go to any big town now, it is full of the university walkie-talkies.
Yes.
And they're all so smug. And a lot of them now, they say they are the neurodivergent.
Yes. It's because they're young and their knees still work, and there just might be a distant possibility of them having sex.
No, it's not that. It's all that's all they talk about. But they wear sort of the big glasses. They all have big hips. They have coloured hair, and
Hips.
they wear.
Did you say?
They wear.
Did you say hips? They have big hips.
You can't tell which is a man's or the woman.
Oh, I see. Right.
And
Very difficult to
get
tell these
arrested.
days. That is correct. Yes.
You'll get arrested if you say that. And they wear the headphones. They wear the headphones. They wear the headphones because they don't want to be triggered by the sound.
Well, yeah, they're sound-cancelling headphones, Jonathan, so you can talk as loudly as you like to them. They won't hear a thing.
No, but I'm
God,
just saying.
if only I had a pair of those right now.
Now, listen to me quickly. Can I say that?
I
Rishi
am
Sunak,
listening to you.
I know you're not a fan, but you need some of the real people to call you up. Because,
Like who?
Because
Like
just
you.
have now-
I don't believe that
No.
you're a real person.
You have all of the lefties calling up now, and they're all saying, what will you do when the Keir Starmer is elected instead of the Rishi Sunak?
Yes.
Because I will end by saying this, just because of personal hygiene and smell reasons alone, I would much rather share a lift with Rishi Sunak than that Russell Brand.
Just for reasons of personal hygiene. Well, that makes sense. Thanks a lot, Jonathan. Please, I am begging you, put your shirt back on. No one wants to see that. That's just a fact. What is this show about? Answers on a postcard to the following address.